Right, so I'm going to try and get this as accurate as possible. My last video I made a lot of misspoke a few times, and people are just hating everything I put on there, so that's fine. I don't give a rip. Go ahead and put hate. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to tell you what happened to me with this truck and what research I found and stuff on this engine. I mean, there's a lot of good research. Good people have had no problem with this engine, and usually it's because they're not pulling weight. With the research I found is guys pulling 3-car haulers every day, guys with trucks with one of these, the one that has the engine that's in the van that is doing, is a bus, okay, heavy, pulling it all the time, 15,000 pounds. And I've actually read this straight from guys that are, that work on these all the time, is that this engine was not designed for heavy duty use, okay, but yet it was put in heavy duty vehicles, and Ford chose to put it in the 450, 550 cat chassis, and it really isn't very well designed for that. So, behind being said, my engine cracked 3 pistons at 180,000 miles. So, is that, if people go, well, I've got 500,000, I got 1,000,000 miles on my truck. That's fine. Are you pulling weight all the time, every day? I'm not talking about once a week on the weekends. I'm talking about every day pulling weight. Are you having piston cracks on your engine? Now, guys will say, oh yeah, you ethered the motor. Okay, I've never put ether in it, of course. I'm not that stupid. Okay, that ruins a diesel engine right away. It's possible before I got it, 35,000 miles I put on the truck after I bought it, and I drove up and down the Grapevine. I don't know if you've ever climbed the Grapevine in this heavy of a vehicle, but you're pretty much on the floor all the way. And you're lucky you can almost buy a t-shirt saying you survived, and I've done it many, many times on this engine. So, I've done it too, also pulling my Chevy with big trailers and heavy stuff, and the Chevy, hasn't cracked any pistons. Let's take a look at this piston that I pulled out of here. So, this is the cracked piston all the way through. There's actually 3 pistons. There's 2 other ones that are very small hairlines, and I don't think I can get them in the video. They're just from here over, okay? And if those were hairline cracked with 30,000 miles, it'd be highly unlikely that it happened, from ether before I got the truck. So I have 220,000 miles on my Chevy engine, on my Duramax, and I have had to do nothing to it. I've had to change the water pump and the injectors pretty much, and injector fails are more common on the Chevy, and I know that. But let's talk about what I've done to this truck in 180,000 miles. I've changed the injectors. I've changed the turbo pedestal was leaking. I've changed the oil cooler leaks. I've had the lines for the high pressure oil. I replaced these because the braided ones failed. There's a lot of other things I've done, and I've well maintained this engine. Changed the oil properly, synthetic fluids. It's a stick shift, so I don't have to worry about the tranny. That was one of the reasons I bought it, because I did some research before I bought the truck. 7.3 is supposed to be a good engine, and I don't know. I've had a lot of problems with it, and a lot of people say it's such a great thing, and I don't know why people are so damn loyal to Ford. After the 6.4, you really, come on, you're loyal to them? You'll buy a 6.7? My God, I would just, fuck you. I would never buy a Ford after that. I mean, The rods are thin. The freaking pistons are wafers, you know, on the 6.4, you know, look at all the garbage that they put in that, and they actually let it go to production. After that, I would say up yours. You guys can keep your trucks. I'll go with a Chevy because the Chevy's had a better track record over time. So over consistency, I'm not saying they haven't had some issues. They had a couple years where they put some crappy pistons in. I think it's the LLY or whatever. You know, it was like an issue with the brass ring or copper ring in the piston. I don't know why they did that. It was kind of stupid. But, you know, there's been a few things, but for the most part, you know, cracking straight through the top of the piston, you know, there's really no excuse for that. And honestly, when I looked at the new pistons, and you say, well, there's not an issue with the piston. Okay, Molly obviously thought there was an issue because the new pistons I got were casted totally different. You can look it up on my channel. I've got the new pistons on there and the old ones next to each other. They totally recasted the piston. They wouldn't do that if it wasn't bad, if there wasn't an issue. Okay, so, you know, there's been a lot of good said about the truck. Really, the good ones I've looked at, guys are swearing up and down. They got 1 million miles on it, but they don't pull anything. I mean, my occasional trailer here and there, but I'm talking about weight all the time. Nah, the thing just doesn't, you know, it's a good motor. I mean, as far as, I'm not saying now, after I rebuilt it, it's a powerful motor. You know, it does all right, you know, climbs the hills. But even my 6.5 Chevy lasted longer than this thing. You know, I mean, that's what happened to me. You guys had something different. My 6.5 Chevy was totally abused. But it had no power, and guys go, oh, well, it doesn't have any power. Well, so does the IDI Ford, the earlier one of this, you know, the IDI 7.3. That was a good motor. Those things didn't fail, but, you know, they didn't have as much power, so everybody always wants more power. They try and get more power out of their truck. Just leave the damn thing stock. You put all that extra garbage on there, you're gonna... I left mine. This is completely stock. Nothing other than the turbo pedestal with the delete. If you can see right there, you guys who are Ford people know that. I got rid of that flapper thing because that seems like a big fail. No, it wasn't rolling coal. No, it didn't have an injector stuck. No, it didn't. I know what all that stuff is. This isn't my first diesel. I've had several. And this one, you know, I worked on them back, you know, when they used to have regular flat top pistons. They were a lot better motor. Still, the trannies were garbage, you know. And guys go, oh no, the Ford's got a good tranny. Man, dude, look at every gas engine right from in the 80s all the way up into the late 90s. They pop transmissions more than any other car I've ever seen. Every gas engine Ford, under-engineered. Just totally just missed the boat. All the trannies just pop like crazy. I had a friend with F-150. He blew like 7 trannies in 150,000 miles. Come on. That's pathetic, you know. So, you know, I used to really like this motor until the piston broke. I was like, hey, this thing isn't too bad. It's been a good truck. But 180,000 miles is pretty pathetic for a major engine overhaul on a diesel. You know, even pulling weight or not pulling weight or whatever. Diesel engines are supposed to be designed to last, not to fail, not to have you know. I'm sure since I've gotten the new piston upgrade, this engine will last because everything else in the engine, everything else is pretty bulletproof, okay? But, you know, people go, oh, I bought the 6.0, you know, and I'm going to bulletproof it. I bought the 6.6 Chevy, and it was bulletproof right from the get-go. I didn't have to do anything to it. I don't know. You guys with your Fords, man. I mean, I got one. I guess I'm a Ford man, right? But I'm just being real about it. I'm not just going, hey, you know, I bought one of these, and it's so great. You know, I'm being real. Look, you know, it popped pistons. I don't think that's very cool. I don't think that's a great engine. I think it's a super good fail. And if my Chevy did the same thing, I'd be talking shit on it too. All right, talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.